I'm Mr. MegaManFan. Like, share, comment, subscribe. You know all the things to do. And today on Genesis Does, we're talking about Golden Axe. And honestly, I can't believe that I've never talked about Golden Axe before now, but better late than never, I suppose. And we're going to start out by talking about the arcade game specifically, and then I'll get into the differences between that and the Sega Genesis version. But to start with, the game takes place in Uria, which is a high fantasy medieval world ruled by the Death Adder. Not to be confused with Blackadder. Rowan Atkinson has nothing to do with this game. Death Adder took the king and his daughter captive and holds them in his castle along with the titular golden axe, which is the magical emblem of Uria, which imbues whoever holds it with invincibility and immortality, or so the legend goes. Now, what's going on here is that three warriors suffering under the yoke of this evil entity, the Death Adder, have decided we can take this no more. It's time to go get the Golden Axe back and rescue the king and the princess and restore peace and love to the land of Uria. They are Gilius Thunderhead, a battle axe wielding dwarf, and Axe Battler, a barbarian with a two-handed broadsword, and Tyrus Flame, an Amazon whose parents were killed by Death Adder. First, you start out working your way through a ransacked turtle village. Boys, the turtles! No, not those turtles. This is actually on the back of a giant turtle, so perhaps you can draw an allusion to Terry Pratchett novels, except there are no elephants here. But anyway, you rescue the villagers by destroying all of the enemies that have made their lives miserable. Then you discover that you're on the back of a giant turtle, and he takes you across the ocean where you see the castle, and you're flown to the castle on the wings of a giant eagle. On the wings of an eagle fly. Higher and higher, right? Okay, anyway, sorry, I'm making too many pop culture references. You defeat Death Adder when you run into him. If you're successful, you get the Golden Axe. But in the arcade version, you also get a bonus scene that reveals the fourth wall break, where you see a bunch of kids playing the Golden Axe arcade game, and then the monsters break free from the game into the quote-unquote real world. Now that's Golden Axe in the arcade. What the Sega Genesis version does is actually add more to the game than was in the arcade. There's an additional level and a dual mode, along with a brand new ending. So even though it's based on the arcade property, it could be said to be a game in its own right. It's still Golden Axe, but maybe you could call it Golden Axe Plus or Golden Axe New Game Plus. It's got more than the arcade, but it's obviously bit crushed a little to work on a 16-bit console in terms of the sound and the graphics. But other than that, I would say this is probably the better way to play Golden Axe. One of the reasons this game is so fondly remembered is because of the ability to mount steeds, and they each have different abilities. Like the one you see here in this section can whip its tail back and forth. Yeah, I gotta stop with those references. So that one is pretty handy for taking out a swoop of enemies around you. And then there are some dragons which you can mount, which will burn anything in front of you or behind you with fire. Now that's a really fun mount to use. You can take out a lot of enemies really quickly when you're on the dragon. And you have magic potions as well. And if you get into a bind where there are too many enemies on the screen and you want to take them out in one fell swoop, just use a potion and you will cast a magic thunderbolt onto every enemy in the playfield. You may not kill them, but you'll seriously knock down their health to the point that they're pretty easy to take out after that, as you can see right here. So this game really has it all. It has a great fantasy story. It has magic casting. It has steeds you can mount and use as weapons. It has multiple different playable characters. It has a bonus level. It has a dual mode. It's a classic. Golden Axe is a classic, which is why you saw it at the beginning as part of a collection called the Genesis 6-in-1 cartridge. This game was so beloved that even years after it first came to home consoles in 1989, they kept on selling it. They repackaged it with a bunch of other Sega Genesis games and sold it to a whole new generation of Sega Genesis players, Model 2 and Model 3 owners, who would get the chance to play Golden Axe for themselves. And very worthy of that recycling it was. It was well recycled. It was not a poor choice to reuse Golden Axe again and again. It's a game that deserves that legacy. And speaking of its legacy, how does it fare on the collector's market these days if you want a copy individually or in a compilation? If you want the original 1989 version, it's not the least nor the most expensive, but you won't get it unless you find it at a Goodwill for a really cheap price. You'll pay at least $20 for it loose and $45 for it complete. Now, if you're not that picky about it, and you can settle for getting the 6-in-1 fun pack instead, then you're getting a little bit better value for your money as opposed to spending all of that on just one game. So that would be my recommendation if you were going to go about getting it, because the cardboard box version goes for $17 loose, $30 complete, and the clamshell plastic version goes for $13 loose and $38 complete. So either way, you're getting Golden Axe plus 5 more games for less than you would pay for Golden Axe on its own. Does that make much sense? Maybe not, but that's the collecting market for you. People want the standalone version because it was a very early Sega Genesis title. So they want that physical box and the manual and everything that goes with it to represent that part of their collection. I would say that's foolish. I'd just go for the 6-in-1. You get more value for less money. Or you can just emulate it and avoid that debate altogether. I'm not telling you how to play your games. You play them any way you want, but I would recommend playing Golden Axe any way that you can play it, whether it's on a Genesis Mini or an EverDrive or the original cartridge or the 6-in-1. It doesn't matter. I recommend it, period. The only thing I would say that I would temper that enthusiasm with is don't presume that your sword is a long-ranged attack weapon. You still need to get up close and personal in combat, because if you don't, you can get tag teamed very easily, like you saw here. And the other benefit of getting in close is you can do grappling moves where you pick up and throw your opponents, and sometimes that's the only way you're going to win a fight, is if you pick up an enemy, give them a little throw, and then attack them again. Then you can beat them down far more easily and not get ganged up on. Whereas if you're trying to attack one, the other can attack you from behind, and then you're kind of screwed. So choose your fighting style carefully. And perhaps play it co-op, because you can get a lot further with a partner than you can on your own. But whatever way you play, like I said already, Golden Axe is definitely worth your time. The steeds are just so much fun. I can't get over how good it is. It's like riding Yoshi if Yoshi was a completely badass dragon instead of a tiny little dinosaur. I'm Mr. MegaManFan. This has been Genesis Does. I thank you for watching, and I'll see you again for more new content tomorrow and another episode of Genesis Does next week. Bye for now.
Genesis.